Hello, welcome to my channel. It's still exciting. Anyway, so right now I want to talk about the time where I felt really anxious and felt like my whole world was collapsing and my heart rate went through the roof for my first Etsy sale. Again, I just want to say that I am neurodivergent. I don't experience the world the same way other people do. And one of my hardest difficult time was that moment where I had my first sale on Etsy and I was doing print on demand. So that means I have to wait for the other company to fulfill this particular order for me to be able to satisfy this customer, right? And I didn't know what to do, and it doesn't happen automatically in an instant. It does happen automatically, but it happens after about a few hours. I did not know that because it was my first time getting a sale on Etsy through this particular method, which is print on demand, a drop shipping. Yeah, so it was a drop shipping print on demand. So it means like when someone orders a product, you design it, and then that design is applied to either art print or a cup, um, a water bottle, and then you receive the order, and then that order get sent into a fulfilling company that will fulfill that order. It will take your design, print it on a product, and then ship it for you. But because if it's Etsy, it means like you're the one that handling the customer service experience, so you have to handle all the customer side of things like the communications. So if the goods don't arrive on time, it'll be you that have to answer to that customers, and it'll be you that have to follow up with the other company and say what's going on, why is the products not there, stuff like that. So I was still dysregulated in my whole nervous system back then. So this probably is back like 2018, 2019, 2020, then around that time area. And it was so nerve-wracking, and I know like a lot of people and like I remembered when I spent about my first time spending about like 5 grand on myself, and it was on a trip like to Europe. I know like people spend so much money for overseas trip, but for me that was a lot because I'm poor and I feel like I have not yet broken out from that poverty mentality yet, even at 40 years old. So even then, like even though I was really fretting, even though I was really anxious, it wasn't as anxious as this particular moment where I received my first sale. It was as if that I was experiencing a very different experience altogether. And to be honest, I did not really like the experience because I felt like there is um suddenly a demand on me, right? Like a something that is holding me, and it won't let go until I fulfill that, until that product goes into the customers. And I feel like I might not be the only person who experienced that, which is now which is why now I don't do Etsy as much, or at least I'm not going to do print on demand or drop shipping by Etsy or by any other on any other platform, because I couldn't handle that pressure. And I still do like society6.com/Valerie, and I still do uh Redbubble, because they handle all the customers service and all of that. So if the customer didn't get their product, you can just follow up with Society6 or Redbubble, and they will issue you a refund, or they'll replace the purchase. Because I've it happened to me too. Like they sent me the wrong thing. I have to go back to Society6 and say, hey, you sent me the wrong thing. So they ask me like, do you want a refund, or do you want um, what you ordered to be reordered? And I just said, I just choose and pick my choice, and they did that for me. So it's usually not a big deal if something goes wrong. You can always like get a refund or get what you initially ordered. But I just guess that I can't do both. I can't do like the creation part and also the business part. It's like it's either I can be like only the customer service parts, only to the things that I didn't make, or I can be the maker but not the customer service part. And I think that I learned something there. But I think there's also something greater there, lurking, or I'm sus- I'm suspecting that it's something greater than just a mere not good under pressure when someone orders something from you, because I'm fine when I have all my products in front of me. Like I've sold a few things that uh, I have from like I've sold like a few paintings, or I have like the paintings in front of me, and I also have you know a scarf that I made and I sent via the post and sold via Etsy too. Like none of those make me feel anxious or like so over the edge about the whole thing. It was only when I was doing like that drop shipping and print on demand thing that I felt like I was doing something wrong. Um, I didn't really make a lot of money, and I think there was a period where I had a Christmas period where people were just buying things, but it wasn't even that much comparing to the work that have to be put into. Um, Mostly, it's just answering customer service people and also making sure tracking is definitely available for me and for the customers. And that's like the technical things, that's like the details things. But I think psychologically behind it, um, I want to analyze maybe if I'm over analyzing myself, if I'm overthinking, is I think the freaking out is because I'm breaking something in my brain. I'm breaking a rule. It's like I'm making money out of thin air, basically, and that's something that you never discuss by other people with other people, right? Like I was using Canva to create the design. I still do sometimes, but not a lot. But back then, I was just I was just using Canva, and so it was free. And Etsy back then but they charge you probably what 20 cents US. So maybe it's about 30-40 cents Australian dollar for listing. And so it was a nominal amount. And you only pay other fees if you sell something, which I did at the time, right? And so you basically don't have any cost to start with, and but you're making a profit margin, which is not a lot, but it was still like you're making money out of thin air. Well, I was. So maybe that was the bit that was scary for me. I think it was just like there was this idea that there are a lot of people that are doing this on the internet, right? And for before it happens to you, it's just like, oh, maybe they're just lying, because by the time you're an adult, you realize like a lot of people are lying. A lot of people are basically exaggerating their results and exaggerating how they get to where they get, right? Especially if you know people on LinkedIn, they're basically boasting up a lot of their achievements, and you never really know what they really mean, especially if it's being written in corporate language, which is definitely um, uh, a mine F. And I feel like it was maybe like that, like you breaking barriers. I was breaking something that I wasn't meant to break. Like I was breaking this, I think this belief that things needed to be hard for it to work out. Like money needed to be hard. Uh, you need to work hard for money, and I think that was my first foray into having a tangible, actual cash going into my account for money coming into my life without having it being hard per se, and without having it filled with a lot of capital. Like you don't have to invest a lot of capital. For me, it was just using whatever I had at the time, whatever my computer is, or or designing from my phone. So it's practically free because I will still have my phone, I will still have my internet, I will still have my computer anyway. And I feel like there are moments in our life that are like that as well, where we are breaking something out of our norm, where we are doing something that is so far from what we usually do in our lives, that is also kind of breaking a lot of rules that society uh, impose on us. And, when you listen to people, and it was, again, I'm not saying that I became a millionaire. No, I'm still poor, okay? But it was a first freak out that I had that was weird because it's good for me, but I was reacting as if that my life was threatened. I was going into flat fight and fight mode. I was going into a traumatic mode of when I'm actually normal people would go into maybe ecstatic mode, maybe going into euphoria mode, and I went into like massive anxiety, uh, panic mode, and my heart was beating so hard, and it was just very uncomfortable, and it was just, and I think that pressure never really went away, and I think it's also maybe I don't know if it's lucky or not lucky. At Etsy, to do Etsy, you have to do a lot of listings, and so it's not only you need to put in you need to list, well, back then anyway, I don't know how it works now, but back then you have to put up a lot of listings for you to get into uh for the Etsy marketing bot to work for you, for it to list it on like Google Shopping, for example. So if you can get up on the ranking, it's easier. So that's like a very technical thing, and so they will buy from you. And so it's, rather than creating thing, I think there's a lot more of digital marketing skills that you need to attain back then, like, or at least you need to be aware of. So the skills are not necessarily a designing skills. It's more like you need to kind of be aware of the patterns and stuff. And after that, you also have to take care of your customers a bit as well, which fortunately for me, I didn't really have a lot of problems with that. And even when things go wrong sometimes, like the customer basically came back and said, "Hey, there is a crack here on my framed print that I spent like $200 on." And I will just say, "Hey, you know what? We are so near to Christmas right now. I don't think I can deliver your gift um, before Christmas, but what I can do is I can refund you the money, or if you want, I can reorder a new copy for you, but that will probably arrive after Christmas. What I would suggest is that you use this, and then you say to the other person, hey, this is not perfect, but a replacement is coming after." So, just like very normal customer service stuff, because things don't always go right. And I think like after I calm down, after I kind of have those interactions, I realize like the worst thing that can happen is just someone asking for a refund. And as long as you have the money to do that, that's fine. As long as, but in the first few, I think maybe like the very first time that I sold stuff was very anxiety inducing, because I didn't have the money to refund them if they asked for the money back, because I didn't have any money even to buy food. So when I've sold something, then I use the money to buy food straight away, even if the profit was only $10. $10 would be like my money to buy food for a week. So it was, but by the time I got to the Etsy game, I had a little bit more money, so I can put whatever's selling and onto like a account, and I don't touch the money until that product arrived on the customer's door, and they arrived safely, and the customer's happy about it. Um, But it was very tiring. After a while, I just don't see the result that I wanted after I calm down and kind of assess it practically. But it was that first order that really got me into thinking, like, what's wrong? Like, why am I so panicky when good things happen, when a paradigm is being broken in my life? And I noticed, like, it happens. Not, I don't know if it's often, but every now and then, I realize, like, when I feel a very heightened emotions of panic and anxiety, it's not necessarily bad things are gonna happen to me. Sometimes it's good things happening, and it's just I just become so jittery and so defensive that I can't perceive it as good. And it's weird. Maybe because I know for some people, this probably is a very obvious problem. It's like, oh, I know what that is. Like, how come you can't see it? It's because when you are so involved in your own issues and your own problems, it's really hard to see it, right? It's easier to see other people's problem. It's easy to see other people's patterns, but because you're in it, it's hard. Like, if you're inside the bubble, you can't see the bubble in its whole entirety. But if you're outside the bubble, you can see the bubble in whole entirety. When you're inside, you can only see portions of it because your eyes are only here. You don't have eyes like all over your head. Um, well, that's my excuse anyway. Uh, so yeah, so I felt like I was definitely almost have like a heart attack when I first received that. It's like, oh my god, what is happening? It's really hard to imagine when you feel like you are dying when good things happen to you. It's like it kind of screwed with your brain a little bit. It's like good things are threatening, but bad things don't make you improve, right? Like, bad things just keep happening to you. Then if good things are threatening, that means you are not going to allow good things to happen to you because your body thinks it's danger, like good things are dangerous. Which is probably a different problem that I have to solve myself. But I guess in our life, I guess I'm sharing this with you so that maybe it will trigger something. It will kind of resonate with what you're going through as well, so that maybe you have this kind of pattern as well. So I'm just bringing it into the surface so that you are aware of it now. And if you're aware of it, then you can do something about it, either you talk to your therapist or work on it, or talk to your life coach, and it becomes something that you can deal with. It's, I think, if unless you are aware of something, it's quite hard to deal with it. It just becomes a ghost or an evil presence. It's very neighborless. It doesn't have a physical presence. But if you're aware of it, it has a physical presence, and that means it's easier to tackle. And I guess now, because I was aware of it, like of that particular incident, now when I'm having a very anxious or a fight and flight, I can include that into the equation of the reason why. Like, I can go through like a checkbox, um, checklist of boxes that, oh, can it be something good's happening and I'm feeling threatened because I never experienced it before. So at least you are aware that that is a possibility, so that if it is, then you can calm down straight away, right? You don't have to go off the rail because you are unfamiliar with it. And I think that's extremely important, because I think most of us are associating surprise with bad things, because that's how it is in my life. Like, surprises are usually things that I don't have control over, and it becomes a problem because I can't control it. So I am in full like freeze mode. Like, I'm just like that, and my whole adrenaline is frozen inside, and it's just dysregulating and everything. Uh, yeah. So that's what I experienced that first time when I had my first Etsy sales. Uh, It was a very interesting experience, I suppose. I don't do Etsy much, or no, I closed down my well, no, I suspended my shop. I don't know if I'm gonna open it again. Oh, I should, but I feel like I'm only going to open it if I'm gonna sell like the physical stuff and not drop shipping. I think I would stick to Redbubble and Society 6 for print on demand stuff. So it's a lot less, even though I think like this is an opinion. Print on demand as an industry, I feel is dying. Well, for me, it's not as attractive anymore unless you definitely know what you want and definitely know how to sell it. I'm not good at selling things. I'm just not, because if you know how to sell it, I think you it's probably better to go to Amazon because they haven't charged fee yet. Um, so merch Amazon is still the only print on demand company that I'm using that don't have any fees that's charging. Society 6 is charging me money every month now, so I have to pay them after about 10 years of having it as a free platform. Um, I can't delete it because I have 10,000 products on there. And Redbubble, I stopped uploading into that platform for a long time now, but everything that I uploaded are still there. So if you want to check it out, you can and buy stuff. I'm still making money out of it, but it's just not as much as it used to when it was still on its heyday about 5 years ago when we were in the pandemic, and everyone was basically buying things online. Also, yeah. So that's it. That's all I want to talk about today. I just want to talk to you about my first time having my first Etsy sale and how I panicked out of my out of my bum and sent me through the anxiety rail. Anyway, my name is Valerie. I'm a digital creator here on the internet. So I'm a solopreneur. If you want to check out my other works on the internet, you can check out the links on the description box below. There are also other links about how to make money by answering surveys, or my micro investment, what I use as my micro investment platform, etc., etc. If you're in Australia, of course. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.